Husband missed our daughter's graduation to attend a work emergency that turned out to be his ex-girlfriend's court hearing. So I packed his bags and changed the locks, but he claims I am being unreasonable for not supporting him while he supports a friend. My husband and I have been married for 20 years. We have a daughter, Emily, who is 18 and just graduated from high school last week. We had been planning for her graduation for months because it was a huge milestone, obviously, but also because Emily is the valedictorian of her class and she was giving a speech. My husband, Richard, seemed just as excited as I was. We talked about the party we were going to host afterward, the family members coming into town, and how proud we were of her. It felt like everything was going according to plan. The morning of the graduation, Richard was acting a little strange. He was pacing around the kitchen and checking his phone constantly. I asked him if he was okay, and he said he was just nervous about the crowd and all the family being there. I believed him because Richard has always been a bit anxious in big social settings, so I didn't think much of it. Then, about 2 hours before we were supposed to leave for the ceremony, Richard got a phone call. He walked into the other room to take it, which I thought was rude since we were all getting dressed and rushing around. When he came back, he looked pale and sweaty. He told me and Emily that there was a massive emergency at his work. He works as a project manager for a construction firm, so emergencies do happen, but usually they can be handled over the phone. He said a retaining wall had collapsed at a site downtown, and that structural engineers were involved, and he had to go there immediately to manage the liability issues. I asked him if he couldn't just call his assistant or someone else to handle it for a few hours. I reminded him that his daughter was giving a speech in 2 hours. Richard looked at me and said he had no choice. He said if he didn't go, people could get sued or fired, and he was the only one with the clearance to sign off on the safety protocols. Emily was standing there in her cap and gown, looking at him with these big, disappointed eyes. She told him it was okay and that she understood, but I could tell she was crushed. She had been practicing her speech for him for weeks. Richard hugged her really quick and said he would try his best to make it back in time for the speech, or at least for the party afterward. Then he grabbed his keys and ran out the door. I was furious, but I had to keep it together for Emily because I didn't want to ruin her big day by crying or screaming. We went to the graduation and it was beautiful. Emily's speech was amazing. She talked about resilience and family support, which felt like a knife in my stomach because her father's seat was empty. My parents were there and Richard's mother was there too. His mother has always been difficult. She kept asking where Richard was. When I told her about the work emergency, she just smirked and said, "Well, Richard has always been a very loyal person who takes his responsibilities seriously." It felt like a dig at me, but I ignored it. Richard never showed up. He didn't make it to the ceremony. He didn't make it to the dinner afterward. He didn't even text me until almost 10:00 p.m. By the time we got home, Emily had gone to her room to take off her makeup. She was quiet. I knew she was hurt. I was sitting in the living room, fuming, waiting for him to walk through the door and explain why a retaining wall was more important than his only child. He came home around 11:00 p.m. He looked exhausted, but he didn't look like someone who had been at a dusty construction site. He was wearing the same suit he left in, and it was clean. His shoes weren't muddy. I asked him how the site was. He started rambling about permits and inspectors and how stressful it was. I stopped him. I told him he was lying. I said I knew construction sites and I knew him and his story didn't add up. He got defensive immediately. He said I was being unsupportive and that he had been working his tail off to save his job so he could pay for Emily's college. Then his phone buzzed on the counter. It was a text. I was standing right next to it, so I looked down. The message preview said, "Thank you for being there today. I couldn't have faced the judge without you. Megan." Megan is his ex-girlfriend from college. They dated for 4 years before he met me. I know they stayed friendly for a while, but I thought they had drifted apart years ago. I picked up the phone and showed it to him. I asked him why his ex-girlfriend was thanking him for facing a judge when he was supposed to be at a construction site. Richard went white. He tried to grab the phone, but I pulled away. I demanded to know where he had really been. He finally admitted it. He said there was no collapsed wall. He said Megan had a court hearing that day for a restraining order against an abusive partner, and she had called him begging for support because she had no one else. He said she was terrified and needed a character witness or just someone to hold her hand. I asked him if he seriously skipped our daughter's graduation to hold his ex-girlfriend's hand at a courthouse. He said it was a life or death situation for her and that Emily's graduation was just a ceremony. He said Emily would have other milestones, but Megan was in real danger. I lost it. I started screaming. I told him that he chose another woman over his own child on one of the most important days of her life. I told him that lying to me and Emily about a work emergency was cowardly. He tried to turn it around on me. He said I was being heartless. He said I was helping a friend who was in a crisis. You should be proud of me for being a good man, not attacking me. I told him a good man doesn't lie to his wife and abandon his daughter. I told him to get out. He looked shocked. He asked where he was supposed to go. I told him he could go stay with Megan since she needed him so much. He tried to argue, but I started grabbing his clothes from the closet and throwing them into a suitcase. I was running on pure adrenaline and rage. I told him if he didn't leave, I would make a scene that would wake up Emily and the neighbors. He left. He took the suitcase and drove off. I spent the night crying on the couch, wondering how 20 years of marriage could implode in a single day. I couldn't understand how he could be so selfish and delusional. The next morning, I called a locksmith and had the locks changed. I know it seems dramatic, but I didn't feel safe in my own marriage anymore. I didn't know what else he was lying about. If he could lie so easily about where he was for 12 hours, what else was he hiding? I went to see a lawyer 2 days later. I felt like I was in a fog, just going through the motions. Emily asked where her dad was, and I had to tell her the truth because I wasn't going to lie like he did. I told her he went to help a friend in court. I didn't mention it was his ex-girlfriend because I didn't want to hurt her more, but she knew something was wrong. Richard kept texting me, telling me I was overreacting and that I was breaking up our family over a misunderstanding. He kept saying he was just being a supportive friend. 2 days ago, Richard showed up at my front door. He looked like a wreck. He was crying. He started pounding on the door, begging me to let him in because he had found out something terrible. I didn't want to open the door, but he was making a scene, so I let him into the hallway. He told me that he had been staying at a hotel and had gone to visit his mother to talk about what happened. While he was there, he overheard his mother talking on the phone to someone. He said she was laughing. She was telling the person on the other end that it worked perfectly and that Richard missed the whole thing. Richard confronted her. It turns out his mother had orchestrated the whole thing. His mother has never liked me. She always thought I wasn't good enough for Richard. She apparently stayed in touch with Megan over the years. Richard told me that his mother had called him the morning of the graduation. The call I thought was work, and told him that Megan was in the hospital after being attacked and that the court hearing was an emergency session to get protection. She told Richard that Megan had no family and was going to be alone, and that if he didn't go, something bad might happen to her. Richard said his mother convinced him that it was a dire emergency, but the twist is, Megan wasn't attacked. The court hearing was a routine procedural thing for a divorce settlement, not a life or death restraining order. Richard found out that his mother and Megan had cooked up this story to guilt him into skipping the graduation. His mother wanted to create a rift between us. She knew that if Richard missed the graduation, I would be furious. She wanted to destroy our marriage so Richard would be free to go back to Megan, or at least be away from me. Richard was sobbing while he told me this. He said he had been manipulated by his own mother. He said he didn't know it was a lie. He thought he was saving someone's life. He begged me to forgive him. He said he was a victim too. He said, I was trying to do the right thing and they used my kindness against me. I listened to him, but I felt cold. I told him that even if his mother lied, he was the one who chose to lie to me. He was the one who didn't trust me enough to tell me the truth about where he was going. He was the one who decided his ex-girlfriend was more important than Emily. He kept saying, but I was tricked. You can't divorce me for being tricked. I told him I needed time to think. I kicked him out again. Now he's staying at a hotel, and I'm sitting here trying to process the fact that my mother-in-law plotted to destroy my marriage and my husband was gullible enough to fall for it. I feel like my whole life is a lie. I don't know if I can ever trust him again, even if he didn't technically cheat. He still chose her, and he still lied. Edit, I want to clarify something because people are asking about the work emergency excuse. Richard said he panicked. He said he knew that if he told me he was going to see Megan, I would get upset, especially on graduation day. So he made up the work lie to protect me from worrying. I think that's garbage. I think he lied because he knew what he was doing was wrong. He knew that leaving his daughter for his ex-girlfriend was indefensible, so he tried to hide it. Also about his mother. She has always been passive-aggressive. She makes comments about my cooking, my job, my parenting. But I never thought she was evil. I never thought she would actively try to ruin her son's happiness. It's like finding out you've been living next to a snake for 20 years and never noticed the venom. Richard says he has cut off contact with his mother and Megan. He says he blocked their numbers, but words are cheap. He missed the graduation. That moment is gone forever. Emily will never walk across that stage again, and he wasn't there. First update 2 weeks later. I'm writing this update because a lot of people have been asking what happened after Richard told me about his mother's plot. I've spent the last 2 weeks in a state of absolute numbness, just trying to get through the days for Emily's sake before she heads off to college in the fall. I decided not to let Richard move back in. I told him that I wasn't ready to even look at him, let alone share a bed with him. I stuck to my decision to proceed with the separation, at least for now. I met with my lawyer again, and we started drafting the initial paperwork for a legal separation. It felt surreal seeing our assets listed on a piece of paper, like 20 years of life being reduced to math. Richard has been desperate. He sends me flowers every day, which I just throw in the trash. He sends long emails detailing his therapy sessions. Apparently, he started seeing a counselor immediately to figure out why he was so easily manipulated by his mother, and why he felt such a need to be a hero for Megan. He told me in one of these emails that he confronted Megan directly. He went to her apartment, not to support her this time, but to demand the truth. He said Megan admitted that his mother had reached out to her weeks ago. His mother had told Megan that Richard and I were on the rocks, and that Richard still had feelings for her. She spun this whole fantasy that if Megan could just get Richard alone during a vulnerable moment, he would leave me. So they timed the crisis for the graduation because they knew it was a high-stress day where I would be distracted, and his mother knew exactly when it was. It makes me sick to my stomach to think about them plotting this while I was ordering balloons and ironing Emily's gown. Richard keeps saying that this exonerates him. He thinks that because he was the target of a conspiracy, he shouldn't be punished. But I called him last week and told him exactly why I'm not buying it. I said, Richard, the problem isn't just that they lied. The problem is that your first instinct when you got that call was to lie to me. You didn't say, honey, this is a crazy situation, what should I do? You made up a retaining wall collapse. You looked me in the eye and lied, and then you looked your daughter in the eye and lied. He got quiet on the phone. He said he was panicked. He said he was conditioned by his mother to avoid conflict and that he just wanted to solve the problem without upsetting anyone. I told him that not upsetting anyone resulted in him devastating his wife and daughter. Emily has been taking it hard. She refuses to talk to Richard. He tries to call her, but she sends him to voicemail. She told me the other night that she doesn't care about the reason he missed it. She just cares that he wasn't there. She said, Mom, if he really wanted to be there, he would have been there. And she's right, it's that simple. I also had a run-in with his mother. She had the audacity to show up at my house 3 days ago. She banged on the door, screaming that I was stealing her son and that I was a heartless woman for kicking him out when he was just trying to be a good Christian man and help a friend. I didn't open the door. I called the police. I told the dispatcher there was a woman trespassing on my property and behaving erratically. I watched from the window as the patrol car pulled up. The officer talked to her and she put on her little frail old lady act, crying and clutching her purse, but he made her leave. Richard found out about it and called me horrified. He said he was so sorry she came over. He said he sent her a formal letter, certified mail, telling her that she is dead to him and that he never wants to speak to her again. He sent me a photo of the letter. It was harsh. He accused her of ruining his life and being a toxic narcissist. I felt a little bit of satisfaction reading it, I won't lie, but it doesn't fix the hole in my chest. I'm still moving forward with the divorce process because I realized something important. If he could be this easily swayed by his mother at 45 years old, what happens next time? What happens when we have grandkids? What happens when I get sick? I need a partner who is solid, not someone who plays the knight in shining armor for his ex-girlfriend because his mommy told him to. I don't know if I can ever get past the betrayal. It's not the cheating, he didn't have sex with her, I believe that now, but it's the emotional betrayal. It's the fact that I wasn't his priority. Second update, 3 weeks after first update. Things have gotten messier, if that's even possible. We are deep in the legal weeds now. My lawyer advised me to document everything, so I have a binder full of texts, emails, and the police report regarding his mother. Richard is staying in a furnished apartment downtown. He looks terrible whenever I see him. He's lost about 20 pounds. He told me he's on antidepressants now because he can't sleep. I feel bad for him in a distant way, like you feel bad for a stranger on the news, but I don't feel the urge to fix it for him anymore. That urge died on graduation night. We had a mediation session last week to discuss finances and the house. It was the first time we were in a room together for more than 5 minutes since the incident. He kept trying to make eye contact with me, giving me these sad puppy dog looks. I just looked at my lawyer or at the paperwork. During a break, he cornered me in the hallway near the restrooms. He asked if we could just go to dinner just once to talk without the lawyers. He said, I miss my best friend. I looked at him and said, your best friend was the one you abandoned for Megan. He flinched like I hit him. He started crying right there in the hallway. He said, I know I messed up. I know. But I am doing the work. I am changing. Please don't throw away 20 years because of one bad day. I told him it wasn't one bad day. It was a lifetime of him not setting boundaries with his mother. It was a lifetime of him needing to be the hero for everyone except me. I reminded him of the time he missed my 40th birthday dinner because his cousin had a flat tire, or the time he spent our anniversary on the phone with his boss. This was just the final straw. He didn't have an answer for that. He just stood there wiping his eyes. The biggest development, though, is with Emily. She finally agreed to see him. Richard had been writing her letters, actual handwritten letters apologizing. She decided she wanted to say her piece. I drove her to the coffee shop to meet him, but I waited in the car. I wanted her to have her own space. I watched through the window. They talked for about an hour. Richard did most of the talking at first, looking earnest and desperate. Then Emily spoke. I saw her gesturing, looking angry, then crying. When she got back in the car, she was exhausted. She told me that Richard told her the whole story, about his mother, about Megan, about the lie. Emily said she told him that it was pathetic. She said, I told him that I don't care about grandma. I care that he lied to me. I told him that I can't trust him to be my dad right now because I don't know when he's going to disappear again for some other emergency. She said Richard took it. He didn't argue. He just apologized over and over. Emily told me she's not ready to forgive him, but she doesn't want to cut him off completely. She said she'll text him sometimes, but she doesn't want to see him for a while. I think that's very mature of her. More mature than he's acting, honestly. Also, I found out from a mutual friend that Megan tried to contact Richard again. Apparently, she sent him a text acting like nothing happened, asking if he wanted to grab a drink to decompress. Can you believe the nerve? Richard apparently replied with a screenshot of the restraining order he is trying to get against his mother, which includes no contact with third parties acting on her behalf, and told Megan that if she ever contacts him again, he will include her in the harassment suit. So at least he's growing a spine. It's just 20 years too late for me. I'm focusing on getting Emily ready for her dorm. We've been shopping for bedding and desk lamps. It's nice to have a distraction. Every time I look at the empty spot in the closet where Richard's clothes used to be, I feel a pang of sadness. But then I remember the empty chair at the graduation and the anger comes back to protect me. Third update about 3 months later. Emily is off to college. The house is very quiet now. I thought I would be lonely, but honestly, it's peaceful. I don't have to worry about managing Richard's anxiety or dealing with his mother's drama. I've been painting the living room a color Richard always hated, a dark teal. It looks amazing. The divorce is almost final. We are in the waiting period now. We settled on the house, I'm keeping it, and I bought out his share using some inheritance money I had from my aunt and by refinancing. He didn't fight me on it. He said he wanted me and Emily to have the home. We met one last time to sign the final papers. It was at the lawyer's office again. Richard looked a bit better, healthier. He told me he's still in therapy twice a week. He said he's learned a lot about enmeshment and codependency. He gave me a letter. He asked me to read it later. I opened it when I got home. It wasn't a beg to get back together. It was a genuine apology. He took full accountability. He wrote, I realize now that by trying to be the nice guy to everyone, I ended up being the villain in my own story. I failed you and I failed Emily and I have to live with that. He also enclosed a check. It was for the full amount of Emily's tuition for the year. He said he liquidated his $401k partially to pay for it because he wanted to take that burden off me. I called him to say thank you. It was a short conversation. He sounded sad but stable. He asked how I was. I told him I was doing okay. I told him the wall color. He laughed and said, I bet it looks terrible, but I'm glad you like it. It was almost like old times for a second. Then he told me that he is suing his mother, not just a restraining order, but a civil suit for emotional distress and interference. He said he wants to make sure she knows that her actions had consequences. He said he hasn't spoken to her since the day he sent the letter. She apparently tries to call him from different numbers, but he changes his number every month now. It's tragic, really. A whole family blown apart because one old woman couldn't handle her son being happy with someone else, and because that son didn't have the guts to stop her sooner. I'm starting to date again. Well, not really date, but I went for coffee with a guy from my yoga class. It was nice. He asked about my life, and I realized I didn't have to edit myself to avoid triggering anyone's insecurities. I still have moments where I miss Richard. 20 years is a long time. I miss his jokes. I miss his cooking, but I don't miss the doubt. I don't miss the feeling of being second best to his mother or his friends or his job. Emily is doing well in school. She texts Richard occasionally. He sent her a care package for finals week. She told me she's thawing a little bit toward him. I encourage it. She needs a dad, even if I don't need him as a husband. Final update, 2 months after divorce finalized. I didn't think I would write another update, but something happened that felt like the closing chapter of this whole mess. The divorce is done. I am officially a single woman. It It feels weird to check the divorced box on forms, but I'm getting used to it. Last weekend, I was at the grocery store and I ran into Richard's mother. I haven't seen her since the police escorted her off my lawn. She looked old, frail. She was with a caregiver or a nurse, I think. She saw me and stopped. I thought she was going to scream or make a scene. Instead, she just looked at me with this hateful, bitter expression. She said, "I hope you're happy. You left him all alone." I looked at her, and for the first time in 20 years, I didn't feel intimidated or annoyed. I just felt pity. I said, "I didn't leave him alone. You did. You made him choose, and he lost both of us." She started to sputter, but I just walked away. I didn't look back. It felt incredible. Richard called me yesterday. He wanted to tell me that he's moving. He took a job in a different state, about 3 hours away. He said he needs a fresh start where everything doesn't remind him of his failures. He wanted to know if I was okay with him being that far from Emily. I told him Emily is in college, so she's not here anyway. I told him that maybe a fresh start is good for him. He said, "I just want you to know I will regret that day for the rest of my life. Not because of the divorce, but because I hurt you. You didn't deserve that." I told him, "I know I didn't, but I forgive you." And I meant it. I forgive him. Not because what he did was okay, but because I don't want to carry the anger anymore. The anger served its purpose. It got me out of a bad situation. Now it's just heavy luggage. He started crying again on the phone. He said thank you. We said goodbye. I sat on my back porch with a glass of wine and looked at the garden. Emily is coming home for Thanksgiving next week. We are going to cook a turkey and watch movies. Richard won't be there, and that's okay. Life looks different than I thought it would at 45. I thought I'd be planning retirement trips with my husband. Instead, I'm planning my own trips. I'm thinking of going to Italy next summer, just me. Or maybe with Emily. I realized that supporting someone doesn't mean setting yourself on fire to keep them warm. Richard tried to keep everyone warm, his mom, Megan, his job, and he burned our house down doing it. I'm building a new house. Not literally, but metaphorically. And this one has better locks and a teal living room. Thanks for listening to my story. It helped to write it all down. If anyone out there is wondering if they are unreasonable for demanding to be their partner's priority. You're not, you're just asking for the bare minimum. Don't settle for less. Richard is a good person who did a terrible thing because he was broken. I hope he fixes himself, but I'm not the mechanic anymore. I'm just the ex-wife who is finally truly free.